the whole thing about terminology and is the way that we think is energy as well. And this trickles down into our energetic systems in us inside our businesses. People are losing massive amounts of cash because of the gaps in the terminology in their business systems and the way that they're moving through them energetically.
My guest today is Sylvia Swann. Sylvia is a spiritual business energetics mentor. She works in Norway. She lives not far from Oslo. And if you thought that personal energetics was something deep and interesting, business energetics is something next level. I'm going to let her tell you all about it. The idea is that I want to have conversations exploring the frontiers of human potential. That's potential is a great, I don't know, it's something that motivates me very deeply. I'm not really sure where that comes from, but the idea that there is some kind of hidden capacity that I have that I can know it's there, and I can choose to work in the direction of doing that thing, whatever it is. And I don't know, I've always been like that. I've always been, maybe not always, I don't know, but I remember dropping out of university because I was doing a program that was easy for me. It was something I was good at. I'm good at speaking foreign languages, and I thought, well, that's what you do in life. You find what you're good at and you go and learn some more about it, and then you get some kind of a job doing it. And it was boring. And it wasn't that the courses were boring. I liked doing languages, but it was inevitable that I could be successful at it because I was good at it. I already knew I was good at it.
Mm.
And at that moment, I was very involved in music. I was in a classical music is what I was doing. And I was playing in a youth orchestra. It was very heady. It was a big social environment for me. I was hanging out till 2 o'clock in the morning with other musicians playing string quartets and drinking wine. And it was all very bohemian, but I realized that I wanted to apply myself in some area where I had no idea if I could be successful. And so I dropped out of what I was doing and I switched into music. It took me a year of being out of the system to learn to play well enough to even get into university to pass an audition. I was not particularly gifted, but then I did that. So it goes way back to there, and from there, that was like a journey through being a classical musician for many years and then coming to homeopathy and doing all of that. So I've done it a few times, like deleted my stream and jumped over to something else just for the pleasure of seeing what I could do.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that too.
Mm.
Because we sometimes you do this and you're successful at it, and then there's nothing more to do about that, right? There's nothing more to milk. There's nothing more
Yeah,
to explore at that point. It's just okay, now we've got this. That's enough, and you just move on to the because you're gathering things for an elixir, right? It's just
yeah,
like you're creating something in life, and then so you're gathering the ingredients, and you don't necessarily have to do more about everything that you do. But there was one thing that you said about because you had to practice and rehearse, you weren't very gifted. But the thing is that when you practiced, you created like your own gifted templates.
yeah,
So even if you weren't gifted, you were gifted because your gifts gave you the opportunity to practice in the way that your template, your personal
yeah,
template came in, and that's where you become limitless. Exactly what how you're doing it. You apply yourself to something you haven't done before, and even if you weren't gifted or like you were gifted, it's just like the way that you were gifted was in a different way than people would naturally think about. My son goes to parkour, but we wouldn't think that was something he would be like super successful at in the like the first or second time around
yeah,
because of how he is, but he's best in class just like that. And it's because we have the gifts that we do have is that we can apply ourselves to anything we have a taste for. And that is exactly what creates limitlessness.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like looking back at when I worked in TV. I started working in TV production. I hadn't gone to school for it. I
Yeah.
was just like a natural, but I wouldn't call myself gifted in that way anyway. I just naturally applied myself and it all came out. So
Well, I'm curious, like what drew you to that? What made you think that was like, yeah, I've got to do this and it's going to be obvious to me how to do, like, I don't know, I would walk in onto a TV set and be completely clueless.
yeah, but the thing is, I just had a taste. One day I had this not overpowering, but this incredible surge of knowing that I had a taste to work in TV production and I had the taste to do it now. So within 10 minutes, I had applied to a job that was like completely like the most far-fetched job, but not really, because I just knew that I was going to apply myself, literally apply to this job. I was applying myself to that job, and that was going to be my job. And I didn't even get it. Like, I was there and I knew it was mine. And they called me and said the next day, they called and said, sorry, but we loved you. We have to go with someone else. She has
Yeah.
so much more experience. And I was like, I hung up with them and I was like, nah, it's still my job. They're going to call me back. You just wait and see, people. And everyone was like, because I told my colleagues, they were like, yeah, yeah. Of course, they are. Next day, they phoned me back up and said, oh, something wild happened with this other person. She had an opportunity of a lifetime, and can you please do the job? And so I just did that. It was a knowing. There was no why. There was no, but I had always had a taste for, I love watching movies. It wasn't more than that. TV production wasn't necessarily something I'd specifically thought about doing. I wanted to work in film for a while and I wanted to become an actor, and which I did as well. I just did it instead of, because I was always thinking, I have to do this, I have to go to school, I have to become this recognized actor, and maybe someone's gonna discover me and stuff like that. I went to one audition, and during that audition, I got picked out for a reality show about actors. And I'm like, it was everything. It's just the minute I did something I just had a taste for, and I did it just like that with no question
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Because that's what people do these days. They're like, why? What's my why? What's my why? And they're like, they're working so hard to figure out, what is my why? I have to remember why I came into this business. And they have to, like, they're trying to, but I want to do this for my kids and to create an impact and healing and stuff like that. And all the money, because they can't just wrap their heads around the fact that, oh, you have a taste, then you can just create it. There is nothing more to it. And all the other stuff around that is what is absolutely blocking us from creating what we want in life. The questioning. You can question everything if you're doing it the right way, right? Because
Yeah.
that's how we think we're human. We need to think, but there's this cosmic animalistic, like bone deep, that you're just, I'm going that way, no questions asked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not desire, it is command.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
what this was for me. The whole Bach flower thing was a complete left turn for me. I'm sure I've told you this story, but I was in a container, a coaching container with Gita Lassen, and she asked us all, there were 3 or 4 of us there, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, and if nothing mattered, what would you do? If you didn't need to make money, if it didn't care that it made any sense or anyone else thought it was practical, or if nothing mattered, what would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now? And I was actually loving what I was doing now. I was coaching divorced men about parenting and fatherhood, and it was really meaningful, and I'm good at it, and I loved it. But I answered the question. I said, I would be matching up the archetypes of consciousness, which she and I and you
Mm,
we were all involved in working on that. I said I'd be matching up the archetypes with the Bach flowers. And I was like, who the hell just said that? What does that even mean? Like, it was meaningless to me even when I said it, but I
mm,
knew it was a thing. I knew it was a thing. And she said, so go and do it. and, and I
mm,
remember saying, I don't even know where to begin. Like, I'm not even sure what it's supposed to be. She said, I don't know, open a spreadsheet and start filling things out, see what happens. That was
yeah.
literally the beginning of this.
Mm,
And there was no question that I had to do it. I just absolutely knew, like it just came to me like a bolt of lightning. Like I have to
mm,
do this. And it's it almost developed itself. It was hard work. I've been at it a few years and other people have helped me, specifically Sonal. I have a friend in Abu Dhabi who's amazing, a brilliant woman. We worked a lot
mm,
to flesh this out, but it was something, yeah, totally just a taste. I just had a taste for it, and I still don't know where it's leading, actually, or what it's. I have a much better sense of what it is now and what it's for and how to use it. And obviously, it's proving itself. As I use it, I'm seeing these remarkable results coming left and right. It's a great thing. Other people are really appreciating it,
mm.
but I do get the whole left turn taste thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was explaining taste in my Bachflower group, in my Master Alchemist group. I have some people learning with me for a 12-month program to learn the system. And I was explaining taste because it's a concept. It's a concept to think that there's a more elevated version of what we would call desire, that elevated in the sense that it's not connected to anything outside of you. It's not connected to reason or justification or utility or any of the feelings that getting your desire would generate. It's
Mm.
just it's just a taste. It doesn't have to mean anything. And but it's very powerful because you have to follow it.
Yes.
It's a key. It's a key.
It's a key. And actually, I wouldn't say you have to follow it. You will, because that would be an inaccurate terminology because taste is being on point. So
Mm.
instead of following your
Yeah.
taste, and that's why that's something that people need to start working on. And what we're working on in our day to day, right, is to become very precise with the language, because this is one of the things that has been in this business of online spiritual businesses and in the world. We're trying to reach people. When we're talking to people, we're reaching them using words that they understand. But then at some point, it's the quality of our energetic precision that will pivot them out of where they are, because we can't go and meet people where
Yeah.
they are anymore. And that's the interesting thing. So when once you have you bring your people in, and that you talk about these things, and then that's the upgrade that's coming, is about digging into the terminology. And I'm just jumping ahead here because, of course, you know this, but the point is that people need to get the point of all of this, is to
Mm.
actually start moving in a different way and doing things a different way. And I'm coding my clients to do things way before, instead of like way before they could happen if you were following something. And but you need to follow your taste down into the body, and then you can go in there and say that you follow your taste, and then you find that place from whence you.
Mm.
So that's so I'm just picking at this right now to make a point for the listeners, because the whole thing about terminology and is the way that we think is energy as well. And this trickles down into our energetic systems in us, inside our businesses. People are losing massive amounts of cash because of the terminology, that the gaps in like time lapse and gaps in the terminology in their business systems and the way that they're moving through them energetically. It's incredible how much potential, right?
Mm.
That is locked. And the taste is the key, because you need to follow the taste into that place, and then you do not follow the taste into the world, but you place that taste, the result of you following that taste, into the world. So you follow it into the body, and you follow. I had this specific upload the other day where I was asking questions from genius. I was putting down my new, that something came, and I'm opening a new Facebook group, right? I'm coming out with a membership, and I'm like, what is this? Because I was at the point where I had completely let go of absolute all ego for the sake of that all being given to me. And I'm not speaking in like religious terms, but there's a point where you need to go beyond what we're doing here today, like usually. And I was at that point where it's like, what is this? And I was looking at the way my thoughts wanted to question things, but I like this, I like purple. What is this about? Is the black and white and stuff like that. And I just typed in, follow me into the code. And that was genius speaking to me, saying, follow me into the code. It was my voice, because it's me
Mm.
telling you, basically, shut up and just follow me into the code, you know? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna follow me into the code, because I'm not gonna follow you or the guide. There is no guide, okay? I'm gonna follow me into the code because it's my code. So I have a go at the word limitless, for instance,
Mm.
something comes out of that, this whole mythology that I can create out of that, and something different comes out when you go at it. But it's gonna be virtually the same. But the thing, I think I actually talked my way out of my initial point. But the thing that we need to understand is that the way that we need to work on with energy is shifting. And so I'm coming out with a membership called Energy Worker, and it's going to be pretty nice. And this is what we want to explore, right? When we're looking into the future of energy workers like ourselves, and how to work with energy to shift from like healing and wondering what's more, and start actually mining into that fucking potential. Because
Yes. Oh
yes,
my God. You already know that's what I'm all about, right?
yes,
I've been a healer for 25, 30 years already. And healing is wonderful. But maybe for me, it's the same thing that I was just talking about. Yeah, okay, I know I can do that. And
yeah,
now I want to do something that I don't know if I can do it. I don't even know where to start. But I know that I have a taste to work on the other side of healing. Healing, almost by definition, is restoring you to okayness, to restoring your level of okay that was lost because of some challenge or overwhelm or illness or whatever it might be. And then now, what about the infinity that is from okay till wherever, right? That's where I want to work. I want to work now on the whole other side of the equation, the
mm,
whole limitless realm of possibility, when you're not all in your head about needing healing or something.
yeah,
And I don't know, it's a very exciting time for me. That's probably why I was so drawn to all the archetypal stuff and whatever I was hearing, especially from Sonica, but from the others as well. And it was completely, I was just obsessed with those codes, with understanding the getting out of the illusion and looking behind the veil. And it's all, when you get there, it's so obvious. It's just so obvious that you can't even believe that you spent so many years trapped with those hazy sunglasses on or whatever, looking through the world through not rose-colored glasses, but whatever color they are, you see what with your glasses on, and
Yeah, and
it's quite an
people,
experience.
it isn't quite an experience. And people, whenever I've made quantum leaps, what people would call quantum leaps, is there is no time. There's literally no time between needing healing and being way past healed and
Yeah,
just doing. There is just so little time, and people think there's some process that needs to
right.
happen, and they know, because we talk, like, people are literally teaching other people, but there's no process. It doesn't have to be a process. You can just wake up and be, you just have to,
Yeah,
but they are not living by that principle, because they still are holding on to, like, their people are allowing themselves to fathom this on some arenas, and then they're holding on for dear life to be able to control other arenas of their life. And for me, it's all or nothing. So usually when you see like little trickles, it's because I'm moving into the all, but from I will literally suffer for years, but not really. But I will have this I'm falling back into this story of, that something's really hard, or it's been a while since last time now. But that when I drop into that taste and I acknowledge that, poof, I'm off. And there is no process. The process is that there is no process, because
mm,
the mind disappears. There is, if we take away all of that, oh, there goes the veil. There's no veil because there is no mind into that. And when you do that, you free yourself from that control freak mind-based situation about the story of what my life is and what needs to happen and what can't happen. You drop into the body where everything is possible, where you have access to the raw materials of creation, and the mind then starts working for you in ways that you couldn't possibly imagine. And that's the limitlessness as well, because you can't imagine what you can't imagine when you're stuck in perspective and you're holding on to, like, parameters for understanding. We all know this, but people aren't living by it. People are not living by energy matters. They're not, like, the teaching, because they think I have to just keep going now so I can make money. I just
yeah,
have to, like, now I have to really speak to the clients out there and try to reach them, and because without really doing the work, and without, like, just going up on some superficial thing, and it's going to work. You can make money off of absolutely anything, but it's not going to give you what you want. It's never going to give you what you want. That's why people are so frustrated all the time, because that they don't even see the money that's coming in. It doesn't do anything for them. They still want more, and we're we're trapped in the detailing of things and how we think things need to look and are supposed to happen in order to be valid and good enough and all of that.
mm,
This is probably a sidetrack, but I still cannot believe when I realized I was doing this activation on my eye. What's it called? You know what it's called, because I think I told you about the activation. This eye nerve that has the optical nerve.
yeah.
I was doing the activation of my optical nerve, and I realized, oh, because I'd been like, "Oh, I wish I had this mountain cabin. I would really like to have a mountain cabin so I can go out and ski and whatever during winter." And I realized, you know what? I actually have a mountain cabin. It's in the mountain. I can go whenever I like. I have a mountain cabin. How was I not able to see that I didn't have that I had one? Yeah, because the truth was I didn't have. It wasn't a complete match to the thing that I thought I wanted. That I just somehow it had come into my sphere, into my world. Code sharing. We hang out with people, and codes come in all the time
Mm,
when you don't watch yourself, and so I somehow had clung on to I'd I'd caught this code of what a mountain cabin was and where it was placed. And the one that I have is absolutely perfect. I've been up there ever since I was a child. What am I doing? Not like, how can I possibly forget about that? And
Yeah.
people do that with money. They're like, I can't afford that. Can't afford paying someone to help me with my business. And it's a good thing you don't sometimes, because you don't always need someone to help you with your business, right? You need someone to help you have to look at things the right way. And
Mm.
then, because the problem isn't that you need people to help you with your business, it's the problem is that your business isn't your business. You're just what's it called, repurposing something that you heard about energy, and people aren't pouring themselves into what they're teaching, and that's what you're doing. And we're all creating our own modalities here, and that's what the vanguard of energy workers are doing. They are creating the new, instead of just taking what's this changed my life, and then they want to bring that to other people. And then in doing so, they're not really, they forget about themselves again. They do not do the work daily, and they're not living in that field of, because the point of being healed is that you are supposed to create something. You are a creator. There's nothing that wasn't created, so it needs to be created first. So what are you doing, like doing other people's stuff all the time? So you need to apply yourself, and you need to be an alchemist in your life. Otherwise, it's just copy paste forever. And it doesn't matter how much money you pour into having people help you with whatnot, because it's not going to work. They can't help you, like applying the juice.
This goes back to the whole idea of, I love the word potential, and I love the concept of it. And somehow I love the concept now that we're getting more and more familiar with the terms of quantum physics and the concepts. Everything is held in potential, waiting for it to collapse. And somehow it is the act of applying consciousness in a way that is the activation that collapses something from being in potential to becoming a reality. And that's a much more fulfilling way of looking, for me, of looking at potential, because it is a creative process. And you are just, you are creating by collapsing something out of potential. And the potential is limitless almost by definition. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I mean, it's the creativity is in fact bringing something out of this cloud of potential into reality, into the real physical world.
Yes. The potential exists because we're holding something in it. It's being, when you're created, your taste is created. And there's this inner dream that's lodged deep within your bones. So that's like the potential cloud of potentiality, like
Mm.
stars are formed in nebulas and stuff like that. That's the nascent worlds that you could create. And so that's where you go to collapse something from potential to kinetic energy. And once I'm an activator, and I activate people I activate your body, I activate you in different ways to be able to come into your body, where this crib of creation is, this womb of creation, and where you can grow things with your body. But it doesn't matter how much I activate you, unless you're actually letting the energy move. It's movement. Potential is not something you can bring out if you're not actually bringing it out and applying it to movement and animation, right? And that's what people miss. They're like, oh, I'm getting so activated, I'm euphoric, this is super cool, and then they do absolutely nothing about
Mm.
it. So you're just like, that's money down the drain, right? We're not cheap. So people should actually be ready to do something with this, and they don't know what it is that they should do, or if they do, they should be ready to do something about this, because, or with the activations that they're getting, because Lord knows you do not know what actually comes out of it until you have moved on it and with it.
Right. Yeah.
That is creation. And that's why the process is not, it's not one you can map out with your mind. You can map it out, but it has to follow. It's not, this movement is not outwards, it's inwards and then coming out. It's important that people understand, because we need to understand the way of creation mechanics and which direction it's going in. And it's completely alien for people to understand things in a way, in a physical way, because we're so used to trying to catch these concepts with our minds and be brilliant and know things and collect knowing and neurons moving. We're just literally, what's actually occurring is you're sitting by your desk and nothing happens. And that's what happens. Even if you're making money, you're sitting by your desk and you're doing, appears that you're doing nothing,
Yeah.
but you have been moving on something.
Yeah.
And so the only difference here is that you're pulling potential into creation, into existence, by creating something through that process of pulling it, of collapsing it, by removing yourself from the equation, in the way where, you know, yourself now saying that is whatever you have to hold this anti-magnetism, like holding things off from occurring in the moment. And that's what people are fearing, that if I do this, am I going to get tons of clients and money in this very moment? Because I don't know if I'm ready for that.
We're going to take a break here for just a moment, and we'll be right back with more genius from spiritual business energetics mentor, Sylvia Swann. I'm going to insert a moment of time into this conversation to just explore this idea of the mechanics of creation and how that relates to the body-mind connection. You might not realize that body-mind connection is something that applies in a very practical way to your business and even to wealth creation. Creativity is the act of bringing something out of this cloud of potential, as I just said. And that is very much a body-mind activity from the point of view of your body at the quantum level. Here's the part of this podcast where I get to intersect physics with the process of personal achievement. In case you didn't know it, your body is made of nothing but spinning packets of energy and empty space. Of course, it doesn't feel that way when you stub your toe, but on the most fundamental level, like if you could look at your own hand under an electron microscope, zooming in past the level of tissues, past the cells, past the chemicals, right past even the level of molecules that make up the chemicals, right down to the level of the atoms that make up those molecules, you'd see all the subatomic particles that are you. Spinning bits, literally bits in computer language, right? Coded to be you. And all the rest is empty space. Of course, it doesn't feel like it because you have a human nervous system that's not calibrated to perceive anything on that scale. Here's another thing about the scale of your body that you can't perceive. Your bones, which you might think of as mainly the hard structures that the rest of your body is basically hanging from, your bones are churning out new red blood cells at the rate of 2 million per second. 2 million red blood cells per second, all day long, every day. Here's another one. Your thoughts, those all-important thoughts you have, all of them are simple electrical impulses jumping across a synapse between two brain cells. You can find out which part of your brain is firing up with a given thought, but that's about as far as any conventional investigation can go. There's no way to cut your head open to find out what you're thinking. So let's just say that there's a great deal of activity within your body that can't be perceived by your sensory apparatus. And most of that activity concerns electromagnetic frequencies, ones that you're transmitting and others that you're receiving. And some of the frequencies going through you you don't actually receive, in the sense that they don't seem to impact you in any way. Like, for instance, the shortwave radio signals passing through your room and your body at this very moment. You could prove that that those frequencies are in your room if you had a shortwave radio to turn on. But you know what I'm saying is true, right? You're not aware of it without the radio because those frequencies just aren't talking to anything inside your body. Well, unless you're one of those people who have like a dental filling tuning them into Radio Free Moscow. The rest of us don't notice or respond because there's nothing in our body tuned to resonate with that exact frequency. But the signal that you're transmitting, it's also tuned very precisely. And that's the signal that collapses potential into reality, or what we call reality, what we can see and touch in our experience. That signal broadcasts out from you and collapses exactly what it resonates with and nothing else, like the wine glass and a soprano's high C, metaphorically speaking, because it doesn't have to be a C, it's whatever note will shatter any specific specimen of wine glass. I believe that this is exactly where the Bach flowers go to work on our body. They contain a frequency which has been captured by putting the flowers into pure spring water, which we recognize as a great conductor, right? And exposing all of that to ultraviolet radiation. It even makes sense on a kind of sci-fi level, like the message or the codes that the flowers are broadcasting, because they do that too. They broadcast frequencies also, right? That message gets captured in the water, and that becomes a vibrational essence, a quantum medicinal, if you will. It's going to work by virtue of its quantum signature. It's even more subtle than a frequency, but it will influence a frequency. So the one that you're broadcasting is receptive to being fine-tuned by the Bach flowers. They will influence how you express things that are coded right into your DNA, like pretty much everything about you. And this is a kind of portal to epigenetic reprogramming, the whole field of epigenetics. And this leads me right into saying just a few words about the archetypes. They're basically patterns of frequencies that we host in our bodies, which are discernible, let's say, via the thought and belief patterns that they generate. Your unconscious thoughts tend to be shadow-based, meaning unconscious thoughts are tuned to see everything as a survival issue. When you're fully conscious, meaning you're seeing things as they really are with no survival filter, you broadcast a more powerful frequency, meaning you have the power to actually change your environment, to collapse things out of the cloud of potential in a direction according to your will. And that's what we call manifesting, right? The magician archetype is one of those powerful archetypes that is able to see things as they really are. He's a kind of entryway into a higher level consciousness, which is more like a genius or superhuman frequency. The magician is still part of your human worldview, but it's the part that doesn't need proof. It doesn't need proof or evidence or justifying or validity or credibility, because he has faith. The magician archetype is the one that, you know, that iconic scene in Indiana Jones when he's standing on that ledge and he can't go back, so he just has to put his foot out in front of him and step into the void because it's a test, right? And of course he's afraid to fall into the abyss, or it wouldn't be a test. But as he puts his foot down, the bridge appears. The magician is that function of your conscious mind that will make a leap of faith without any idea of how it's going to work out. The magician is also the performer, the one that goes out and actually does the thing in the real world. Like Sylvia was saying just a moment ago, you can get activated, but then you have to make the actual moves in order for the magic to happen. I'll give you an example. One of my clients just told me that after taking the alchemical blend of Bach flowers that we created together just for her, she realized that her lifelong horror of making phone calls had disappeared. She used to put off making any kind of phone calls, whether it was for booking work for herself or for ordering pizza. She just hated to make a phone call. And within 3 days of taking this alchemical blend, she found herself making calls without any hesitation for the first time in her life. But she had to do the thing, right? She had to pick up the phone. She had to take action. She wouldn't have seen this bit of magic if she hadn't allowed herself to do the thing. You don't necessarily have to do a specific thing, and that's a topic for another time, but you need to move forward. Like, you can't learn to balance and ride a bike until the wheels are turning. Okay, that's enough for me for now. Let's get back to Sylvia Swann. She has lots more to share about spirituality and energetics and how they relate to business. I think I came into your world through one of your activations, which I still play all the time. In fact, I listened to it again right before we got on the call because I love it. It's the True Path Initiation one that I listen to a lot on my phone, but I hadn't watched it in a long time, and it's such beautiful, it's a really compelling graphic as well. But your sound and video activations are like next level. They are very activating. And that I was just sold. I saw a few seconds of one that you posted at one point, and I was like, have to have that. And then I got it, and then I had to have the next few as they came out. And since then, we've done a lot of, you've done a lot of body activations for me and all the Reiki stuff and the celestial stuff. And I have to say, even with all of that, I still, there are many levels for me to, many veils still to go through in terms of how embodied I can be, how much I can get out of my way and allow the energy to flow in my body without getting in my way. Because
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah. It's a thing. And it's gonna, so the thing about that is that you have all this knowledge, like you have a knowledge, you have this intelligence and brains, and you know how to sort things out. You've done quite a lot in your life and managed to manage quite well.
Mhm.
And
Got this far. Yeah.
yeah, it's not that it's not enough, but when we are doing activations and when you're connecting with your body, boom, you're making more cash and you're making more moves, that because it's moving your body. And even I have to go for drives sometimes. I get in my car and I go for a drive, and like 100, I'm gonna go, okay, let's say 60 seconds, and then I have to pull up my phone and record, like voice record stuff, because I have to just move sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's the way it works for me, because we are moving. This body is a seed of creation, and when we're moving the body, even to write and speak and whatnot, it's just about that. So figuring out what is the way that this comes through you when you have activated, like you're feeling something in the body, something's activated. What is the first thing that you can do that would bring out some sort of knowledge that you haven't been able to shape with your mind? Because you will know that you're going to know that there's something missing in your work, or it's still not fully there, or I want to go deeper. You have a taste to go deeper and figure out some more. And that's probably why you're re-listening to the activations, right? Because then you know where to go And it's also going to bring you into the other parts of yourself, and that's going to give you material for teaching, and it's also going to give you places to go when you speak. And so we've been doing some celestial activation using the planets as activating elements for the body, because I'm not going to go into that, but I'm using the sun right now to get into my magician archetype. So I'm using that to as a place for me to speak from. My voice is coming from that place right now because I have somewhere to go. So if that was just a mental thing, still for me, it would be much more difficult to access it.
Yeah.
If I were to think about accessing it and stuff like that, thinking about accessing it, thinking about am I going to access it? What if I fall out? And so you have these concepts need to live in your body. And so that's your modality is body based as well. And it's coming through. That's how you're experiencing things. And my modalities that I'm taking you through is more for activating yours. And it's not necessarily you have to use mine, but it's a way of knowing where things are and knowing yourself into the body, because the body is really, people aren't really, we did a live stream on that. It's called the money drop that we did, where we talked about how whenever you came down into the body, you and I have a history of being up here.
Yeah.
And so getting into the body means
Yeah.
cash. Like even before we did the activations, money, sales would come in. And that's because these things that you have collected, all the knowledge and all the things that you want to do with your business and want to do with what the potential drops into the body, and then it's activated. So the frequency is there. It's broadcasted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might catch some interest, and if you're not there to actually make the sale, which you are, but some people won't be, they won't recognize that this is happening. And then because they're in the pattern where they're not actually making something of their potential. So it's not limitless for them. It's absolutely limited, because the potential is not limitless. If they can't access it, like it's just potential. It's just okay. You can't access you can access some limited potential. Then they will have limited potential because they're not going to access it, be open for the shift from
It's a
energy.
very physical thing. It's a very physical thing. And as I've been learning over the months and years more about the incredible issues of scale and timing, and it's impossible to fathom what is going on in your body right now. We have this idea that your body is just the house of you in some way, like it's the thing that carries your head from here to there, like all the important stuff is happening in your brain, and your body is some kind of engine to move you around in the world. But there is everything that really matters is happening, and your brain is part of your body, of course it is, but it's not the king. It's not actually what we think that it is in terms of the activity of our conscious mind is such a tiny part of who we are and what our potential actually is. And all of the whole, I'm going to say the quantum world of your body, for lack of a better, the level at which your physical existence is nothing but spinning particles of energy and empty space. That's a reality, right? On that level, that's what you're talking about. Accessing that realm, that's where everything happens. And I still get stuck in my head from time to time in a way that you can't even see it because it feels so normal and comfortable, right? It's just my pattern. That's what I'm used to. I have to really be determined I can feel when real life is pulling me out of my zone. It's hard to stay here. It's also hard because it's such an individuated place, and we're wired for community and company and feedback and all of the stuff that you have to say goodbye to. It's hard to stay there in that alone, in that energetically individuated place where the good stuff happens.
But when you do, the room will shift, like the energy in the room shifts
Mm,
because it has to, because you will be the most powerful thing in the room and in the family. So whenever you're just staying in that, so it's not like you have to stay in that quantum fizzy walk,
mm,
that kind of space, literally, but also, yes, you have to do that because when you do move out of that space, the only way to catch myself is to look back at what I just did a second ago. What did I think about saying? What did I think about doing? What did I actually do? Because what just picking up a mug is an action that can absolutely, oh, what's the word? I can bust myself on any little thing and look at what's going on. And that's what we need to start observing. And because it's very easy to slip out and think about, no, I'm at work now. And then I turn off the computer and it's right back into normal life.
yeah,
And we all slip out. We all make mistakes, but it's not about the mastery is not letting yourself do that again and again without actually working on going
yeah,
back and out
yeah,
and so that's the mastery. And people think it's about knowing what's possible or knowing new things about knowing that I will at some point be a master and but knowing that, oh, I know that I've been in this quantum world in the meditation once is where you start, but it's not where it ends. It's where you actually watch your step. You mind what you're doing in a way that you actually practice presence. And it's not about becoming a saint and like namaste,
yeah.
everybody. It's not about that. It's about being in a place and being at the place where you know that the world is limitlessly providing you with raw materials for creation of any kind of environment. So yeah, it's easy to slip out of things when we move into the world, but then we have to be the world
Yeah.
where that we bring with us. And it's so important and it's so hard to get, but once you get it, it's like you cannot even breathe. It's just like, oh my God, how did I even? And you will get better at it. Everyone who's listening, it's just to start looking, just holding a mirror to up to yourself and asking yourself, what am I actually doing here? Am I actually going for mastery? Do I want to know more about myself and my potential? And am I going to actually do something about that? Because if not, then why all this searching? You might as well just go out and just have a walk in the forest and
Yeah,
enjoy just being alive, because there's no point in trying to heal and stuff like that if you're not actually gonna take it somewhere. And you can go there straight away. That's the limitlessness again. Your potential is there. It's inside of you. It's not like it's far away. It's very reachable. And just to mention, because we said you have to go into the body, most people go into a mind body. They have this idea of the body that they're going into the body, but they're just mapping out a body with their mind. So they're not able to
yeah.
access this
Mm.
actual material and this
Oh, that
creative
was
thought.
totally me. That was
Right.
totally me for a long time.
Yeah. And so when you move out of that and as you're going into this work, really diving into it and leaving and burning things, leaving nothing behind, then you will have the absolute knowledge and power to transform the way that other people learn energy and potential and stuff like that from you, because you have actually you're walking the talk,
Mm.
the walk. that you're talking about. And that brings with it so limitless potential is brought into actual. You're very lucky to have a mentor, and you're very lucky to have, in this world with billions of spiritual entrepreneurs, to have someone who can instantly point you to some place in yourself where you don't want to go, but that's where you have to go. That's inside the body, it's not inside the mind. And that's how, so even as much as you're in the mind in your day-to-day, it's okay as long as you're working at some point in your day and life, you're working at the right place. You're at the point of creation. And then you work at getting better at acknowledging that you need to get better at working at it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just about moving in the direction of understanding that limitless potential is limited for you if you're not at the place where it's limitless and you're getting out of your own way. And the way to do that is to stop thinking and moving on your taste, and having modalities that help us that will help you take you into your body, to certain places in the body, and not the mind body, but the actual body beyond the veil is a way in, right? Because it's really hard for all of us. It's really fucking hard to live in a world where you have been surviving with your mind and then to go do something completely different.
that's it. That's it. But it's also about daring to let go of survival at all. That's another concept that smacked me in the forehead about all of this, work, that it's time. This is the evolution. This is the evolution. It's letting go of survival as our main driver, our main motivator, because your whole survival brain has, this whole reptile brain now has access to your full frontal cortex with all your clever rational thinking and all your learning and understanding and knowledge and blah blah blah, and all of that has been hijacked into being hostage to survival. That survival keeps you from growing. By definition, you cannot survive and grow or multiply or divide or create at the same time. That's a principle of basic cell biology. So we're really trapped by our own wiring, and this is the call of evolution, I think. Anyway, that's my idea of it, that it happens on a personal, individual level, to cut those cords and say, I believe this is possible. I believe in limitless potential. That's where I want to live. And survival is an illusion.
Yeah, and that brings us to the tribal situation where people are limiting themselves because they want to be seen as, they literally can't speak, move, create, post without watching their work for looking clever, looking,
Hmm.
I don't know, whatever you want to, looking like you've got your shit together, looking gorgeous, or looking like a spiritual entrepreneur, looking like you've healed. This is why people stop themselves from moving. Just a few, of course, of many reasons why, but it's the absolutely instigational point where the fear of, I will not survive this. If I post this, things are going to come crashing down, and I will
Yeah.
not socially survive this and our world. So the way, like the gateway to limitless potential becoming true, the gateway hinges on our ability to, like you said, step out of survival mode and fear of not surviving, the fear. And that's why, as leaders of spiritual businesses and spiritual communities and having clients, we cannot be there at that place where that's even a thing. And you have to leave that world behind, because if not, then what kind of people are just going to walk into another, like what's it called when when there's a stream and there's this back pull, or what is it? Back current. 2 more minutes.
All right. I guess we
Okay.
better wrap up.
Okay, Tracy, anything that you want me to clarify or anything before we go?
No, we're all going to marinate in all of this. This was lovely. And just say wherever anyone can find you who wants more of Sylvia.
Yeah, you can find me at Sylvia Swann on Facebook. I also have a group called Spiritual Business. Actually, it's going to change to Energy Worker, but for now, it's Spiritual Business Energetics.
On Facebook.
On Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, going to be there at brand.prophet.
Yeah, and that's PROPHET.
Yes.
Great.
So, great. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
It was my pleasure.
And good to talk to you.
You too, Tracy.
We'll be in touch, eh? Thanks.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Limitless is produced by Neil Haley, with music by Danny Columbi. I'm Tracy Poisner. If you're an innovator, a business leader, or a high performer with deep curiosity about the uncharted reaches of your own potential, visit tracypoisner.com for an accelerated pathway toward unimagined achievements and legacy milestones. I'll look forward to meeting you.